You're just in time for a Hey timers, welcome to next Wednesday. As you may or may not realize, depending on how much you drank over the last weekend, tomorrow's Halloween! Yay! Halloween is a fantastic holiday and one that can be so much fun if celebrated properly. Now I know a lot of you may have celebrated last weekend and that's cool, and there are other people who are going to celebrate this upcoming Saturday, November 2nd. And there's a third group, those who celebrated last weekend, those who are going to celebrate tomorrow, and those who will celebrate on Saturday. You guys, kudos to you. I wish I could still do that, physically. So I wanted to give you guys some tips about how to make it a really fun Halloween, but before we do that, you should really know the history of the holiday you're celebrating before you even celebrate it. So let me give you now a brief history on Halloween. Halloween started in 1947. The Americans had just helped win the war a few years prior to that in Europe, and everyone had a lot of gas masks and artillery and things still left over. And there was a lot of cause for celebration because things were going really good in America and kind of around the world as things were getting picked up and put back together around the world. So there was a very small fraction of people who called themselves the Wieners, and while they were over in Germany fighting the war, they learned about German-style hot dogs, and they were big fans of them. One of the things that you could do with the hot dogs is you could hollow them out and stuff them with different things from the day, so it's hollowed wien. It's a hollow wiener. It's a hollow hot dog, a hollow German-style hot dog. And so the Wieners are like, we need to celebrate this awesome new fad that we have created and this new culinary delight that we brought back from Germany. So they were like, we should create a holiday. And they went to the president. They're like, Mr. President, we should create a holiday. And the president was like, that's a good idea, son. Why don't you call it Halloween, because you're all hollowing out wieners. And they were like, yeah, Mr. President, that's a fantastic idea. I think we should do that. And so in traditional fashion, they were like, oh, we should totally dress up with some of our military stuff because that's what we were wearing when we discovered this. And so then they put the military stuff on, but then their wives were like, well, what are we gonna wear? And they're like, I don't know, make something slutty. And so the wives made like a slutty Rosie the Riveter costume, and the guys had their, their military costumes, and they put the big helmets on the little kids, and they got to run around, and then they were like, well, all this sodium and all this salt, we need something sweet. So then they started giving out candy, and then that became a tradition, and then that is how Halloween was born. Every year, they celebrated by having hollowed out German-style hot dogs filled with different condiments, and they passed out candy, and they wore their garb, and it was awesome. So that's a brief history on how Halloween started. Now, here's some tips on how to have a great Halloween yourself. One of my favorite things to do on Halloween is to try to spot the pretty good pumpkin, which is completely different than the great pumpkin, just in case anyone from the Peanuts organization is watching. Pretty good pumpkin's not copyrighted. Do not make a bet with your best friend about who will bring home the hottest girl at the party, especially if you've been drinking. Let me explain why in visuals. This is what she looks like. This is what you think you look like. This is what you actually look like. And this is who she's actually going home with. It's a hard pill to swallow. That's what she said. Ladies, I understand you think this is your one night a year to leave your ambitions at home, dress any way you want, and not be judged. Unless, of course, you count Christmas parties, New Year's Eve, St. Patrick's Day, your birthday, 4th of July, and for some, Arbor Day. Just please remember, you're dressed like this, so don't be shocked when this hits on you while you're busy trying to get the attention of this. Nice job staying with me on that one, Glenn. Under no circumstances is it acceptable to hand dip onions in caramel and try to pass them off as caramel apples. Practical jokes are fantastic and absolutely acceptable, especially on Halloween, and especially when your buddy gets so drunk that he acts like a complete and you guys get kicked out of the party. How else is he supposed to learn his limits? You are helping him. It's out of the kindness of your heart. This. Never do this. I highly recommend that if you're out with your significant other, you do not comment on anyone else's costume unless it's a member of your own sex. If you're gay, then only comment on costumes of the opposite sex. If you do not adhere to this rule, I guarantee you it does not matter how awesome the other costume was, it will be misinterpreted, and your night will end with one of you crying in front of the bar while the smokers are watching, and the other person walking home with their wig in their hand. White Castle at 4 a.m. is never a good idea, no matter how hungry and drunk you are. This rule applies to outside Halloween as well. Taco Bell, on the other hand, always a good idea. When you start thinking the guy that's dressed like a toilet is actually a toilet, it's time to pack it up. Let's go home. Bottom line, just have a lot of fun, even if you act like a complete asshole. It's gonna be great because you're gonna have a mask on and no one's gonna know the difference. Halloween's awesome. In the comment section below, let me know what you guys went as this year or what you're going to go as this year. And as always, don't forget LSCS, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Bye! Glenn, have you seen the Pretty Good Pumpkin anywhere? Because I'm starting to get a little nervous. He hasn't showed up yet. And he usually does by this point, and I feel like he might be in trouble. Well, there's a lot of pounding, and it's either my downstairs neighbors or he's trapped and he's suffocating, and I don't want to... I found him!